Welcome along to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
If you really want to get into the thick of the rugby chat, make sure you hit subscribe on Rugby Obsession for more analysis like this.
Definitely.
Today, we're diving into some really interesting discussions floating around about the British and Irish Lions squad for the Australia tour.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of talk, hasn't there? Especially around certain selection choices.
Exactly. We're going to look closely at the views on including players born outside Britain and Ireland, and also that very strong Irish contingent in the squad.
Two big talking points.
Yeah, the idea is to unpack it all, get a feel for the reasoning behind these different opinions.
And I think a good place to start is with Willie John McBride. I mean, a proper Lions legend.
Absolutely. 5 tours, that's incredible. And he's weighed in, hasn't he?
He has. He spoke to Rapport, the South African publication, and, well, he expressed some surprise, maybe concern, about the 8 players selected who weren't actually born in Britain or Ireland.
It's a fascinating contrast he draws, isn't it, between now and his era?
Completely. He said, back in his day, the team was just players from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Full stop.
So it really gets you thinking about how the Lions' identity might be changing or how people perceive it to be changing.
And just to be clear on who we're talking about, the players he mentioned were Jamison Gibson Park, Bundy Aki, Mac Hansen, all originally from New Zealand.
Right.
Then Pierre Schoeman and Duhan van der Merwe from South Africa.
Okay.
Siono Tuipulotu, born in Australia, ironically enough, given the tour destination. And James Lowe, another New Zealander. So, yeah, quite a mix.
It is a noticeable number, but, I mean, looking back at recent tours, it's not totally out of the blue, is it?
No, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
We've seen players like Ben Teo, CJ Stander recently, even Ben Toon way back. Players born elsewhere who've worn the jersey.
So while McBride's view reflects, his time and experience, this has been a gradual shift, maybe?
I think so. It reflects how international rugby eligibility has changed, too. But it naturally leads on to the other big discussion point.
The Irish influence.
Exactly. 15 players from the Ireland squad that finished second in the Six Nations. That's a huge chunk of the Lions squad.
15 is massive.
Yeah.
And Stephen Jones, the journalist, he flagged that as a potential issue, didn't he?
He did. He raised a concern that having such a dominant Irish group, particularly in the forwards, might backfire.
What was his reasoning there?
He sort of pointed towards Leinster's loss to Northampton in the Champions Cup semifinal as like a cautionary tale, showing that even a really successful core group from one nation can sometimes struggle when put into a different context, like a Lions tour.
That's an interesting angle. The whole gelling together aspect is crucial for the Lions, isn't it?
Hugely. But interestingly, McBride himself actually pushed back against the idea that the strong Irish presence is a negative thing.
Oh, really? So he's okay with that aspect?
Yeah, his argument, basically, is that the Lions have to pick the best players available. Simple as that.
Right.
And, well, Ireland have been the top side in the Northern Hemisphere for a while now, haven't they? So he sees their high representation as just, a natural consequence of that success.
Makes sense. Pick the best players, and right now, a lot of them are Irish.
Pretty much. And he also has some positive words for Andy Farrell, the coach.
What did he say about Farrell?
Called him a shrewd character. Said he's clearly done his homework and, really importantly, has the loyalty of the players.
That player buy-in is vital on a Lions tour with all the pressure.
Absolutely critical.
Okay, so moving on to the captaincy then. Maro Itoje got the nod after Caelan Doris's injury. What was McBride's take on that?
Well, he admitted he doesn't really know Itoje personally.
Fair enough.
But he agreed that, given the situation with Doris being out, Itoje seemed like the logical choice to step up and lead.
He's certainly the experience and the profile for it.
Without doubt.
Yeah.
He's a leader for England and Saracens, commands respect. You can see why Farrell turned to him.
Now, one selection that McBride apparently wasn't bothered by, perhaps surprisingly to some, was the young English flanker, Henry Pollock.
Yeah, that was interesting. Pollock, just the one-capped youngest guy in the squad.
And McBride was positive about that.
Very much so, it seems. He wasn't bothered by it at all. In fact, he kind of related to it.
Oh, so.
He mentioned his own first tour to South Africa back in '62. He was only 21 himself.
Ah, right. So he sees the value in bringing young talent through.
Exactly. He gets what it's like to be the young guy on tour, the potential impact you can have.
Did he offer any advice for Pollock?
He did, actually. Some really good stuff. He stressed that the most important thing is having the right mindset, being totally committed. But he also acknowledged Pollock's got great talent, great speed. It's really about applying it with that Lions mentality.
That's brilliant hearing a legend pass on that kind of insight.
It really is. It connects the generations, doesn't it?
Mm.
And it kind of brings us back to that whole question.
Of what the Lions are in 2025.
Yeah, with players moving around more, eligibility rules changing, how does that historic identity mesh with the need to pick the strongest possible squad?
It's the core question, really. And that's something for you listening to think about, too. Where do you stand on this? Is it purely about picking the best eligible players, wherever they were born? Or does preserving that traditional Four Nations identity still hold significant weight?
It's a tough balance.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. We're genuinely interested to hear different perspectives. And just a reminder, if you're enjoying this kind of rugby deep dive, do subscribe to Rugby Obsession so you don't miss out.
Absolutely. These debates are part of what makes the Lions so special, I think. The passion around it.
Definitely keeps things interesting. So hopefully this chat is giving you a bit more insight into the discussions around the squad for Australia.
Yeah, unpack some of the key viewpoints there. It's clear Farrell's made some big calls.
It's certainly going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out on the pitch.
Can't wait.
Well, thanks for tuning into this Rugby Obsession deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
We really appreciate you listening, and we look forward to you joining us for our next episode.